What's going on, gardeners? On today's video, I am exposing an industry that is spreading misinformation around the world. The conspiracy is so vast, it threatens the world's entire food supply. I'm talking about big nursery container. This is a 5-gallon paint bucket. This is a 5-gallon nursery pot. Does anyone see a problem here? How can these both be 5 gallons? Somebody is lying, and on today's video, we are going to find out who.
If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and check out my Amazon store and Spreadshop links in the video description for everything I use in my garden and awesome custom apparel and gear.
I have always wanted to learn why 5-gallon paint buckets and 5-gallon nursery containers are completely different sizes. While my research hit a dead end, I am an engineer, so I did what engineers do best: hyper-focus on an obscure problem that only a handful of people care about. Think I'm crazy? Think again. You clicked on this video. So, I put all my brain power into solving this existential crisis that threatens our very existence. After nearly a decade of research and millions of dollars of grant funding, I think I actually have a mostly correct answer to this question. And believe it or not, this is actually a question that I've gotten from a lot of viewers over the years. All you have to do is read online reviews of nursery containers and you will see the public is full of confusion.
Just measured this and it's not even 3 gallons. They are rip-offs and should be taken off of Amazon. 5 gallons? Ha 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 ha, not even close. In my picture it is between a 5-gallon bucket and a 3-gallon pot. You can see the difference. To say it is 5 gallons is a flat-out lie.
Okay, in order to understand the difference between a 5-gallon paint bucket and a 5-gallon nursery container, you first must understand that each vessel is designed to hold a different substance. A 5-gallon paint bucket is designed to hold, wait for it, paint, which is a liquid unless you forget to put the top on the can for too long of a time. So, for that reason, 5-gallon paint buckets are sized to hold 5 gallons of liquid measure, which is a unit of measure that most of us in the United States are used to. I should be able to empty 5 1-gallon jugs of milk or water or any other kind of liquid into this 5-gallon paint bucket, and it should fit exactly. Let's check. So right here we have 5 1-gallon water jugs that I filled up roughly to the 1-gallon line as close as I can get it. Let's dump it in this 5-gallon bucket and we will see what we get. So there you go, this 5-gallon paint bucket almost perfectly holds 5 gallons of water. It's a little bit low, but it could be just because I didn't measure each of these 1-gallon containers exactly, and maybe I didn't fill them up enough. So that's really close enough. It's also very clear that this 5-gallon nursery pot won't come anywhere close to holding 5 gallons of water. So, to quote the Pope, what the heck is going on here? I mean, I'm sure he said that at some point in his life. 5-gallon nursery pots are not designed to hold liquid. Dead giveaway, they have holes drilled in the bottom of the pot. They are designed to hold dry material, and I think this is where the confusion comes from. In order to understand the difference, you have to understand the difference between a US gallon and a dry US gallon, which are two entirely different units of measure. A dry gallon, historically speaking, was a dry measure of volume that was used to measure grain and other dry commodities many centuries ago. If you read the front of any bag of potting soil that you buy, you will see the unit of measure is actually dry gallons or dry quarts, at least here in the United States. Just look at this bag of potting mix right here. It clearly says 50 dry quarts, which is a totally different unit of measure than a quart. Every single bag of potting mix you get will say either dry quarts or dry gallons on it. Pulling up any search engine, you can easily convert US gallons to US dry gallons or US quarts to US dry quarts. For your US gallon to US dry gallon conversion, you will find that 1 US gallon equals 0.859 US dry gallons and 1 US dry gallon equals 1.164 US gallons. A US gallon is about 14.1% smaller than a US dry gallon. So what does this nonsense mean? Well, if we actually do the math by typing in 5 US gallons to dry gallons into our favorite search engine, we will see that a 5-gallon nursery container actually holds 4.3 gallons of liquid equivalent. You can do this for any size nursery container. Here is a nifty little chart that you can use to convert US gallons into US dry gallons. This will show you the liquid equivalent of what a nursery container actually holds versus the number of gallons printed on it. So basically, if that math is correct, the reason why a 5-gallon nursery pot is smaller than a 5-gallon paint bucket is it's supposed to be. The math is saying this is supposed to hold 5 gallons of liquid, this is supposed to hold 4.3 gallons of liquid, at least pretty closely. I can't guarantee that this is going to be 100% perfect every single time because I don't think there is a regulatory body that controls the sizes of nursery containers, so it is probably approximate. But I think this math will get you pretty close to reality, and it kind of firms up the understanding as to why there is a difference. So now that you have this knowledge, let's apply it. This is the way I look at it. When I buy potting mix, it is dry, light, loamy, and full of air pockets. Once I fill a container with it, I have to compact it down to plant things in it. So if I take this potting mix behind me right here, and I dump it into this 5-gallon paint bucket right here, and then I compact it down to where it needs to be to plant things in, it should approximately fill this container. Let me say that again. Because this is a dry measure and it requires compaction, if I take 5 gallons of this, meaning I fill this exactly in this 5-gallon paint bucket, by the time I press it down to where you would actually plant things in, it should fit in here. And that's why this is actually labeled a 5-gallon nursery container. When you take 5 gallons of true liquid volume of a dry mix and you press all that air out, that's what you get. And that is what I think is the real answer to the question. I can already feel those light bulbs going off. So if you recall, a US gallon is 14.1% smaller than a US dry gallon. So if I take 5 gallons of potting mix right here, I'm going to have to compact it down about 14.1% to actually plant in it, and that is going to get me 4.3 gallons of liquid equivalent. Therefore, it takes 5 gallons of potting mix to occupy 4.3 gallons of space once compacted, and that is why nursery containers are smaller than you think. Now, because I love science, we're actually going to put this to the test, and I have not tested this yet. So I'm going to water my garden with the water in there. I'm going to fill it up with potting mix, compact it down, and we'll see live on camera if I'm right. And it should all fit in there. One potential problem, I bought this potting mix from the outdoor area of Home Depot. It was the only place I could get this much potting mix. To buy the smaller dry bags indoors, I would have had to have taken out a second mortgage on my house. So as a result, it is not perfectly dry. There is a little bit of moisture in it, so this may mean that our measurements won't be exact. We're going to do our best anyway. It should give us a relatively good enough idea if I'm correct with my little hypothesis here. Okay, I have filled up the 5-gallon paint bucket with the mix, and I have not compressed it at all. It is still nice and fluffy. If I were to plant into this mix, I would have to press it down considerably in order to squeeze all of the air pockets out for the plants that I'm growing. So what I'm going to attempt to do now is transfer the 5-gallon paint bucket full of mix into the 5-gallon nursery container, pressing down just like I would if I were actually planting a tree or transplanting something into it. No more. We don't want to overcompress, and we will see what we wind up with in the end. Wow, folks, look at that. It is almost exact. I mean, I do have it mounded up and rounded a little bit, but that could easily be explained by the fact that the mix was a little bit wet because it was sitting outdoors in big pallets exposed to the rain and the snow that we just had. So it may have just overexpanded a little bit. I have no doubt that if it was completely dry, like a bagged mix that you would get in store, it would probably fit in here perfectly. So there you go, folks. It looks like that my explanation is pretty much correct. So there you go, folks. I think that we cracked the mystery of nursery gallon size together. The reason why they appear smaller versus our perception is because they are measuring the uncompressed mix before we compress it down. So if you have 5 true gallons of liquid equivalent of uncompressed mix and you press it down to where you would naturally plant in it, they will then fit in a 5-gallon nursery container. If you have a 1-gallon nursery pot, well then you could take a milk jug, fill it up with dry uncompressed mix, and by the time you press it down properly, it should then fit in that 1-gallon nursery pot. Now again, I don't think that there is some regulatory body out there that is monitoring nursery pot size exactly. So I'm sure that when you buy different 5-gallon containers from different brands, there will be a little bit of a tolerance in there. It may not be perfect, and also as human beings, our strength varies. How much we compress things down may vary. How wet our our mix is may vary. So this is not going to be a perfect system, but the idea is hopefully now everybody understands why nursery containers appear to be smaller than labeled. So my apologies to Big Nursery Container. You may not be the enemy of the food supply that I thought you were. So everybody, I sure hope you found this video helpful and a little bit fun. Hopefully you learned something from it and it cracked a mystery that you may have never understood. This was actually pretty informative for me to figure this all out as well. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and please ring that notification bell so you're notified when I release more videos like these. If you're curious about any of the products that I use in real life in my garden, I will place a link to my Amazon storefront down in the video description. So expand the video description, click on my Amazon storefront link. You'll see everything I use in real life. I'll also place some direct links down to these 5-gallon nursery pots. I got them just to make this video and they are so nice. If you need 5-gallon pots, I'd recommend them to everyone. They're really inexpensive. While you're down in the video description, check out my spread shop for custom merch if you want to support my channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see all of you again on the next video.
It's a snowy day here in North Carolina, and someone is ready for their walk. Someone is starting to like the snow, and some of the snow is becoming yellow. We're still finding all of the best sniffs. We said hi to some people. We growled and barked at some people because they were having a snowball fight, and Dale doesn't exactly get context, and you know, he thought they were fighting, so we just kept moving along. But here we are, making some more snow yellow, just having a good time, because who knows when we'll ever see snow again like this, right, Daly?